TPE Network. Fun yet informative podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Mouse House Plus. This is episode 11, covering Falcon and the Winter Soldier, season 1, episode 1. We're brought to you by TPE Network.com. I'm Hank.
And I'm John.
And we're your hosts, covering all the major series on Disney Plus. John, are you ready to get into this Falcon and the Winter Soldier recap?
I absolutely am.
Let's do it. We start out the episode with Sam ironing. Sam, who's a man, ironing an Iron Man. And then he's staring at the shield. He's remembering his conversation verbatim with Captain America. That was pretty cool, though, I will admit, even though it's canned, just repurposed information. It was really good to kind of put everything in context.
Well, this was going to show that the last conversation that we have with Captain America and Sam is this conversation that we end up basically revisiting. But it's also neat because you get to see these superheroes in like a real perspective, as in, you know, he's ironing his own clothes because he doesn't have anyone to do it. And, you know, it just to go and do this presentation that he has to go and prep for.
So he's working with the U.S. military to stop a group called LAF. And I was like, that's laughable. Who is led by the Leaper. He's back. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? They still have him in his purple and yellow colors. And I'm glad that he, if they keep bringing him back like in little bits and pieces like this would be perfect because this is how they should play a lot of these bad guys. In fact, Crossbones should have been like this way instead of just burning him out at the beginning of Civil War.
Right. Yeah. He was ticked about that too, the actor.
Yeah.
Falcon's going to have to stop a hijacked plane. And that flight scene was epic. It was probably one of the best flight scenes I think I've ever seen. And then having the bad guys in those wingsuits. My goodness, really cool. They make the Leaper pretty tough, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, he stood up to Cap pretty well in Civil War. And so, you know, having him do this here with Falcon, which, by the way, this is interesting because at the beginning of Civil War, you have Cap jumping out of the airplane, just like how Falcon did here. And his first interaction with somebody is with the Leaper, which is exactly what Sam ends up doing here. So they're trying to do a lot of mirroring of Civil War to where we're at right now.
I was kind of surprised that Falcon does so much killing in this episode. What about you?
No, I mean, he's still a soldier. I guess I think my issue with this was, and this is going to just jumping ahead just a little bit, but not too much, that he is working for the Air Force, but he was Air Force. And yes, he's retired, but they could re-enlist him. So I don't know, is he not re-enlisted because they need him to be not part of the military to do certain things? Or
I think so. I think that's exactly it. I think you hit the nail on the head. He's
a free agent.
Yes. And he's expendable, more importantly. Because of everything that happened with Civil War. I'm sure the government hasn't forgotten about that.
Yeah, it's just that, you know, when we come and see like him compared to Rhodey, it's one of those interesting things that even though, you know, clearly Rhodey is an Avenger, you know, he's still completely in full military garb and we don't ever get to see Sam that. But anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, no, it's you're right. He does an awful lot of killing in this. I mean, let's see. This organization has 5 helicopters? And he blows up he blows up 5 helicopters.
And is able to rescue the hostage, which was really cool.
Yes, but there's an issue with this. There's now a plane flying around on autopilot with nobody flying it at all, and it's not addressed. And the thing is, that was heading towards the Libya border, and so if they're so concerned about cross that Libyan border, wouldn't they be concerned about their C-7 flying over there? I mean, it's got American symbols all over it, even though there's nobody in it.
I don't know. I thought that was the Leaper's plane because the guy got shot in.
No, that's they captured the plane to get that captain out of the plane.
I get you. So I guess if it's empty, it doesn't matter.
Well, I know, but they don't know that.
That's true. Oh my goodness, that's funny. All right, we find out that he's been working with the Air Force for 6 months, like you stated, and then we get our first Flag Smashers group.
Mm-hmm.
And Flag Smasher was an actual individual villain in the comics, but now he is been dispersed into many people.
Well, and also the person who is showing this is Joaquin, and he actually picks up the Falcon mantle while Sam becomes Captain America in the comic book. So this is a very reminiscent of what, or not reminiscent. That's the wrong wording here. I guess things to come. This would be Sam's sidekick.
Okay, Torres, Lieutenant Torres. Okay,
Yep,
that's cool.
He becomes the Falcon at some point in time, and he in this world, yes, Red Wing is not a living Falcon like it is in the comic books, but in the comic books, he even Joaquin even has a connection to Red Wing as well, just like how Sam does. But it's just interesting that they're starting to bring these like secondary people who end up like picking up the mantles of these past superheroes. And so down the road, if Sam does become Captain America, then he will probably end up being Falcon.
Yeah, I kind of have to see that to believe it, because Torres seemed a little soft, as we're going to see here in just a second. But conspiracy theories abound. He wants to know, is Steve in a secret moon base? And that is pretty frigging funny.
Yep, and that's alluding to two different things. First off, the Watcher that we're about to see, and also in the comic books where Nick Fury ends up being taking the place of the Watcher, called the Unseen. As in right now, Nick Fury is in space watching over everyone, because that's like how he picks up Rambo from WandaVision. So it's kind of like multiple spins going on here, because we do know that down the road, stuff is going to happen on the moon, and we do know that Nick Fury is watching down on everybody. So,
could Captain America still be alive and with Nick Fury on that base?
I believe that he's
on the
alive.
space station.
Yeah, I believe he's alive, but I don't think he's on that space station.
Okay. Hopefully we get a cameo at some point, but we'll see.
So
Sam is off to Washington, where he delivers a speech about the blip and symbols. Rhodey is there. He cameos here. But Sam is going to put the shield in the Smithsonian exhibit, so he thinks. And you could see Rhodey was kind of disappointed when he did not pick up the mantle, and he just handed it over. Didn't you get that?
Yeah, I did. Hey, did you also notice that as we were looking at Sam and Cap is over his left?
Yes, that is a good one. That is really good. Yes, I did see that. That's funny. On your left.
Yep.
It's like, what? And I was watching the episode, and it dawned on me. I was like, oh, both of their best friends are dead.
Ooh, yeah.
It's the two sidekicks. That's pretty interesting. And the background had a lot of stuff in it. You want to go into a few of the things?
Sure. This is riddled with all kinds of paraphernalia left over from the World War II and all the bonds and stuff. So let's go ahead.
We had the Vanished, which was mostly a list of Marvel employees. It's like real employees on that list. And then we had that Captain America #1 comic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool. We had that original shield from Captain America, the First Avenger, or a replica, who knows, the motorcycle and shield. We had a shield logo on the wall.
As well as Hydra.
And then we had what I thought was the most pertinent of everything on there, an Uncle Sam poster. That's kind of funny, kind of meta.
So there are a couple other things that are there. His Department of Selective Service tag, whenever it shows that he gets a 4F rating, that's it was something in the background too that we end up seeing. There's a couple other news articles of basically him whenever he rescued the prisoners, like the 400 prisoners liberated. That article is there as well. And yeah, it's all the stuff that we saw through Captain America, the First Avenger, basically just all that.
Yeah, tons of goodies in there. I loved it. I loved that they get down to the nitty gritty like that. We get a deadly Winter Soldier flashback. Did you think at first, like I did when his arm first came through the wall, did you notice that it was different immediately? Because I did not at the very first split second.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as he punched that through the wall, I'm like, it's not black, because the vibranium is that black and gold trim, not the whatever it is that they were using.
Okay. Yes, I wasn't really focused in yet, so I was like, oh, and then I saw the longer hair, and I was like, oh, heck no.
Well, the other giveaway was the fact they had the red star on his shoulder.
Yes, of course. Yep. Who are you working for? So Bucky wakes up on the floor after that, and we've got that, that trope of soldiers coming back and not feeling comfortable in their own bed. So I thought that was a good callback to Captain America.
Yeah, this is actually even mentioned by Sam in Civil War. Oh, not Civil War. Sorry, the Winter Soldier, where he has that interaction with Cap after they're done running, talking about how his bed's too soft.
Yes. Yep. That is true. That's a good one. And then Bucky starts lying to his shrink about his nightmares. We find out in this exchange that he's been pardoned by the government, but they're keeping tabs on him. And he's telling us that story about Senator Atwood, who was a Hydra, kind of a Hydra mole at the time, but kept her power. And Psyche is like, did you follow all 3 rules?
And what was that number 2 rule again?
Rules are as follows. Can't do anything illegal. Nobody gets hurt. And then I am no longer the Winter Soldier. I love those 3 rules.
Man, but this whole interaction with them where like she pulls out the notepad, he's like, oh, so passive aggressive. I mean, it was I was laughing. It was pretty good.
And the notepad would bring you back to how Captain America had his little notepad on movies he should watch, music he should listen to, and Bucky has his own little notepad as well. And on his list, we saw some names, didn't we?
Yes, we did. You want to talk about a couple of them?
Zemo was on the list, of course.
That's right.
Rostov, he's a Russian general, correct? Used to be anyway.
Yep, that's right. And there's a throw out to
Hauser.
Yeah,
we had Hauser on the list, and that's the name of Sam Wilson, Captain America antagonist from the comics.
There's also a toss out to one of the Marvel comic book writers. It says
Kaminsky.
Kaminsky, Len Kaminsky.
Do you remember Kaminsky from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. though?
The name rings a bell, but it's not like coming up because since there's so many agents, it's just one of those things where he just kind of gets blended in.
Now check this out. When Bill Paxton guest starred on there, they had a Kaminsky on there who was Hydra, who was really super over the top with his Hail Hydra, and Kaminsky and John Garrett, played by Bill Paxton, was like, all right, settle down there, Kaminsky, because he had just an over the top Hail Hydra and the step and the throwing the hand up in the air. It was hilarious. On Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I wonder if the other Kaminsky is a shout out to that guy, or is it going to mean something else? Hopefully we find out. I hope.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still lives on. The psychiatrist also notices that he doesn't even have 10 numbers in his old school phone, which so you're over 100 and you have no friends. Oh my goodness. She was so funny. I loved that woman. Loved her.
And a flip phone. I mean, honestly, you can't find flip phones anymore. I don't understand how he has a flip phone.
Right. I think it was just more points to show us that, okay, he doesn't belong in this time frame. He's out of time. He's out of space. He's just odd.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he says he wants peace, and she's like, "Do you? Do you really? Like, do you really want peace?"
Yeah, she's like, BS. Stop it. I know how this works.
So this next scene I did not understand until later in the episode. So Unique, a character called Unique, and a character called Yori are arguing over throwing trash in Yori's garbage can. And this would pay off big time later because Yori is a matchmaker who basically hooks Bucky up with this waitress at this establishment they go to. And Yori just keeps reminiscing about his son. And I was like, what the heck is that? What does this have to do with anything? So I started going crazy thinking, well, maybe his son's going to end up being some supervillain or something like that.
I thought that Bucky was going to like leave and try and go and track him down and revenge him or something like that. So,
Okay. That would made more sense. Yes.
But yeah, that getting that at the later on, that the reveal that was pretty like, oh man, that's hard.
That was gut wrenching. This is the second time Bucky has saved someone from an alley fight.
Yep.
Did you think about that? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, by the way, no pinochle.
That's the game of choice for old people. In Louisiana, Uncle Sam himself returns, and they have the boat Paul and Darlene, which is the parents' name, as well as the boat's name. Pretty cool scene here with his sister Sarah, but she's behind on bills, so you got to go through this whole trope of where do superheroes get their money?
I could totally believe, by the way, that these two are siblings. 100%. They are. I mean, their acting in this role is right on.
Oh, okay. So the way they were arguing and fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And when she punches him and he comes through the door, he's like, "Don't punch me again."
Bucky shows up with flowers, and she's like, "How old-fashioned of you." And when she asks how old he is, he's like 106. And she thinks he's joking, but he is not joking. He's 106 years old.
Yeah, and then he has that like look, and she's like, "Ah, not really." He's like, "Ugh." he puts his head down.
They discussed dating online, which was hilarious. I'm like, how did he get online with that phone?
Oh, he's got a computer. It might have dial-up though.
56K. They're coming to upgrade it tomorrow.
Yep.
And then we see he can really drink, and that's kind of like a callback to the first Avenger where Steve was talking about ever since having the super soldier serum, he's able to drink without getting drunk. So he's like,
yep.
What's the point on that? So it's kind of funny.
Yep.
And then they're going to play Battleship, and I was like, Battleship, really? I don't know if I played Scrabble on a first date, but not Battleship.
Yeah, and you know what they're playing, and I just noticed this morning when I did a rewatch that she takes 2 turns in a row, and she makes him drink. So he drinks because he misses, then he drinks he drinks because she hits him, then he drinks because he misses, then he drinks again because she hits him again, and then she hits him again, and I'm like, man, what rules are they playing? It's like you just skip this turn.
Women will do that sometimes.
Yeah. But yep. Yeah, but then her like leading into this like Yuri conversation, and I mean I get it. She just was trying to like give him like respect for the way that he's treating him, but like she really was like kind of digging in there for someone that I always felt that was a little too overboard for even this series.
Yeah, it was like the writers were trying to come up with a mechanism to get this information out. And then they said, I know, I got it. He could be on a date. Well, and we're sitting here going, that's pretty personal for a first date.
Yeah, I mean, and then what, like that whole line, I mean, it's true, but she drops that, with if kids lose their parents, they're orphans, and but there's nothing for if a parent loses a kid. And and that's there you go. That's not pretty philosophical. You sit there thinking about it, you're like, you're right, there really isn't something. And I'm like, man, they're really just trying to like beat him up.
That's stolen from another movie.
Oh, it is?
It is. It's verbatim stolen from a movie. I can't remember which movie that is, but I've heard that before.
I wonder if it's a Disney movie.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I'll have to look it up, and maybe next episode we'll revisit that. Sam and Sarah, they are well. This is when we find out that the guy's son is who that poor little individual that couldn't get his key in the door. He was just like WandaVision. That kid couldn't get that top off that freaking food.
Yeah.
That guy couldn't get the key in the door to try to, and now it wouldn't have helped him. He wouldn't have gotten away, but he got killed there and by the Winter Soldier. So that comes full circle. I was like, that's horrible.
Yeah, that reveal was pretty, a nice punch in the gut. Now you're understanding why he's spending all this time with Yuri and getting and trying to help him. And that's the thing too, is that like he paid for Yuri's food. That's what convinced him to go and eat in the first place. But then he comes and says, "Oh, I got to pay you for the food." And I'm wondering, well, like, why didn't Yuri automatically just be like, "What are you talking about?"
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with that story, but I don't see the good in him telling him at this point.
Well, probably by the end of it, that'll be like one of the ways they finish off the series.
Yikes. That's sad. Sam and Sarah, they're off to their bank meeting, and we'll get to that in just a minute, because in Switzerland, there are conspiracy theorists, our military conspiracy theorists. He has located the flag smashers. So it was, I don't know, was it believable that Lieutenant Torres can just be off on this mission?
Well, I mean, yeah, I can believe it, because the thing is, he said he was going to like keep his ear to the ground and start listening for any kind of communication. And if this just popped up, basically say, meeting here, he has no idea what's going on. So why wouldn't he go and investigate? So, no. I mean, he was, and if anything, was more along the lines of how do you get to Switzerland, if he wasn't already in the area or something like that. So, I don't find it that far-fetched, but I can see what you're getting at.
Okay. Because I have another theory in just a minute.
Okay.
But that gigantic flag smasher individual just wrecks a cop. And then he wrecks Torres as well.
Yep.
And I was like, holy smokes. Which was crazy. But back to the bank, Sam gets recognized. So the banker is kind of a fanboy, but he ultimately denies Sam and his sister alone because Sam hasn't worked in 5 years. Well, how would he? He's been flipped.
All of that was pretty hard to wrap your brain around. This is one of the things that, leading out of the blip that, they're trying to explain that, the world didn't just go back to acting normal. Right. And this is part of the problem is that you're right. How can you see that there was no income? He wasn't there, but they can't be absolutely certain about that. But odds are he's probably telling the truth. Then he was talking about that VA loan, and they're like, yeah, they're a lot tighter about that now because of it. So it's very interesting thinking of how you're right, how they're paying for stuff, because here Sam is now explaining that basically their payroll was more or less like donations. Now, this kind of contradicts a little bit of what Stark says in Age of Ultron, but to a point, because Stark is paying for their room and board, the Avengers facility, and all their tech, but he's probably clearly not paying for them to have personal money to spend on whatever. So that would be funneled to them through, I guess whatever gracious person is also donating money, because clearly Stark isn't floating the bill completely.
Okay. It just seems like they'd have some kind of stipend or something where they could have some money. Not that they need a bunch of money for stuff because they don't do regular stuff, it doesn't appear, But
this is a very good, like a real life perspective looking into like this superhero world where, there's still real people, normal people underneath that. I mean, unless they're working directly for and under the government, which even Sam says, I have contracts, but he's not in the government. there clearly he still has to take care of himself. So this is a very good. This goes along perfectly with the very beginning of the episode where you see him ironing his own shirt.
Yeah. Yep. By himself.
Yeah.
All right. So him and Sarah, they argue over the boat and the house. And on the boat, Sam is attempting to get that sucker started when Torres texts him about the flag smashers. And then just then on the TV screen, we see the speech from the guy that said, "You're doing the right thing by giving the shield back." That same individual. I couldn't find his name. He's introducing a new Captain America, and that's U.S. Agent Walker.
Yeah, I couldn't get past these ears, man.
Oh, in that helmet, he looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the helmet was too big for his head, and his ears were all sticking out.
And you notice that he was actually carrying a gun on him?
Yes. Yep. He had a gun. And in the comics, he's a nut job.
Yep.
So, oh my goodness. Now, what I want to circle back around to was when Falcon was on that mission, did you get the sense that he wasn't supposed to succeed?
What, at the very beginning?
Yeah. Because everything was a little different than what they had told him.
I mean, I could see that. If anything, they could be like, this is like you have a 1 out of 100 chance of actually pulling something off, and knowing that that everything is like all over the place. But you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I totally get that. You're right. There was nothing set up the way there was. They didn't even prep him about like these escape. I mean, I feel that if they knew that these people were taking over this plane, they would have known the helicopters were going to be there too.
And you remember the Leaper worked with Nick Fury before.
Well, no. The Nick Fury paid a criminal organization to purposely infiltrate the ship to be able to get the information. So he didn't really work with him. He worked for him, and he didn't even know that.
But does anybody ever know they're working for Nick Fury?
Absolutely not. I mean, did anyone know that we're working for Nick Fury right now?
Oh. Right. Your fault.
Oops.
Buzzer. But I thought that was odd. And obviously when he turned over the shield, how they made it seem like they were almost like a guilt trip or something. And then they turn around and do this. I was like, that is the dirtiest crap ever. Why do you think it is? Do you think it's because of Civil War, the Sokovia Accords?
No, because I think it's more along the lines of what this Joaquin was talking about, how there's countries, actually even Rhodey was talking about too, how once people who are allies are not allies anymore, and basically everyone's at each other's throats, so they're looking for a specific symbol. Because I'm not going to say that the Avengers are disbanded right now, but I'm pretty sure that they're done for a while, considering the fact that we're having all these spin-off shows right now. But that's just in D&D terms, player knowledge, not actual character knowledge. I think that in this, though, what they were saying is absolutely right. They need to have one individual be the representation and a symbol for the country, such as like the president, but someone who can actually do something, which would be the U.S. agent. Now,
what about the people who have gone the other direction and said that Falcon can't be Captain America because he's black? What do you think that had anything to do with this writing or of this story?
I don't think so, because as we've seen as of late with how Disney is approaching things, I would feel that this is something that if anything, they'd keep in their back pocket to use here. Maybe we'll see signs of this towards the end of the series. I was totally for and thought that he was going to end up being Captain America, but clearly that's not how this is all starting off. But it doesn't mean that's not how it's going to end. So it's, who knows? I really think that they're going to end up doing that, considering the fact that they've also brought in the character who is supposed to take up the mantle of Falcon. Then why not?
Right. Well, at the end of this episode, they did roll the credits, and I'm sure you went over that with a fine-tooth comb, John. Did you?
No, actually, I didn't. I kept on trying to hit pause to look at everything, and my timing sucked.
Epic fail then on both of our parts. Oh,
dude, and I'm like rewinding back, and I'm like, man, I'm like, these things are so fast. I can't even really pause it because as soon as you see it, you go to pause, it's already being wiped away.
Okay.
But of course, I knew as soon as I started doing this, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it right at the moment because I know there's people who've got screenshots out there, which I have up on my screen right now.
Okay.
So it's not like it's something that I was going to completely miss.
Okay. You want to go over some of them?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's see. I have the one for the coex. It says forces from neighboring Matador have committed human rights can't say the word. Actually,
atrocities.
Atrocities. And that's the only clear one that I've got. Do you have any?
The only one I saw was the power broker. And it's like the power broker is watching, and the power broker, didn't he dole out a knockoff formula of the super soldier serum in the comics?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have another one. There's a date. It says December 16th, 1991. And that's the day that Tony's parents were killed by the Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's horrible. And somebody recorded it conveniently enough.
Yep. No, I do have more. And let's see. We get to spot the words that from the Red Hydra handbook that basically activate the Winter Soldier.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, I did notice that. That's my fault. I dropped the ball on feedback, not gonna lie. So I will leave the lines open for feedback for the next couple days, and then probably like midweek, try to get that episode out with people's feedback, because I 100% dropped the ball on that, and that's my fault. Very sorry. So if you have feedback about this episode, I will give you until Wednesday morning, approximately 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, to get that feedback in. Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can head to tpenetwork.com/feedback for all the ways that we allow feedback to be given. John, anything else?
I want to go back and just bring up the fact that right before we see this news article, Sam's sister comes in, and I was confused about this. Like, she seemed to be very like upset coming in, and I'm like, I don't understand why she's so upset about this. Like, because she like comes like, oh my, it's like, Sam, oh my gosh, you have to see this, and it was like very, very distressing to her, which I couldn't understand why. This news article, because it's almost like she already knew what was about to happen. But
I think they have a caption on there?
They did, but it really wasn't like it was just kind of addressing what was going on, but not the announcement of a new Captain America. So
okay,
and I just
playing us.
yeah, and I'm like I don't understand why she's so upset. So, but anyway, that was just an observation I had. So,
okay. When I rewatch it again, I will look at that, because I didn't even pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, anything else, John?
Nope, that's it.
That's a lot of fun. I appreciate you setting aside the time and also turning on the camera so we could do a little video and put this up on YouTube as well.
All right.
But if you enjoy the podcast, you can head to tpenetwork.com/subscribe. This is our Mouse House Plus podcast. And for John, I'm Hank. Until the next time, we're signing off.
See you, everybody.
TPE Network. There ain't nothing else like it.